Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com, with me as your host, Chris the Realest McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me today to talk about the news that Hasbro have chosen John Reale to oversee their upcoming G.I. Joe Toyline product is Patrick about to get Reale Stewart. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this news burst. That's my favourite one so far. Earlier today, HissTank posted a story explaining that Hasbro had chosen John Reale as Vice President Global Design and Development to oversee the upcoming G.I. Joe toy line. The LA-based Boston College alum has 25 years of experience and previously worked for Mattel until moving to Hasbro in 2010. He has worked on a number of lines for Hasbro, including the awesome Power Rangers product, Stretch Armstrong, Marvel and Star Wars. He is also heading up the upcoming Ghostbusters line produced under the Sony Hasbro agreement. It has also been speculated that Reale will be in charge of the rumoured G.I. Joe Evergreen line that was reported on recently. Emphasis on rumour with that one. Pat, thanks for joining me, bud. First off, what do you think of this move? Is it the right person at the helm for Joe here?
Well, he's not somebody I knew of at all. So it's, I'm just basically gathering information myself today and taking a look at what his resume is, and I think that it's an interesting choice because he does have quite a few years in the industry, and it seems that he was also working on like fashion stuff as part of his training.
Yeah.
And that made me wonder what he had worked on for Spin Master. And so I looked back at that, and at the time that he was there, I think there was like Stormhawks and Bakugan and a doll line.
Yeah.
So I'm really not sure what it was that he worked on for them. But it makes me wonder, G.I. Joe is hugely successful. How much could he also do for a potential 12-inch line? It seems like he actually has some experience that may apply to G.I. Joe in more than just a 3 3/4-inch nature.
Interesting that you should mention that. He's also been involved in like the Marvel stuff, hasn't he? And he's done action figures for Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Spider-Man, etc., etc. So. And Star Wars lines as well.
Yeah, I guess I skipped over that, the fact that he does have experience working in scales that we're familiar with, but the fact that he has experience working in other scales as well, promising.
It is a bit, because obviously you've got the Power Rangers in there, that's 6-inch. We don't, do we know what the Ghostbusters stuff's going to look like yet? Probably not, do we? It's just been revealed that there's going to be a Ghostbusters product from Hasbro.
I just can't imagine it being anything but 6-inch, though. There's been plenty of Ghostbusters stuff in recent years in those scales, but the Hasbro stuff that has been doing well at retail as far as Power Rangers and Marvel and Star Wars, I think that it makes sense if Ghostbusters is most definitely a 6-inch line.
Yeah. And I'm talking a 6-inch line. The Power Rangers line, I got I haven't been collecting any of it, but I've been kind of admiring it from a distance. And I was in Demand Toys the other day, and they had a few the 2-packs and the single box figures, and they actually look gorgeous. Like, there's some absolutely beautiful design work in there, and the figures have turned out beautifully. So obviously related to a lot of talk about 6-inch for Joe, that's got to be promising. And it's not just John Reale here who's going to be, he's not designing, sculpting, manufacturing these figures himself. This is a team effort. So for him to be in charge at least, and to know that under his watch, we've had some pretty nice product from other lines. That's got to be promising, hasn't it?
For sure. I would feel bad if G.I. Joe launched it as 6-inch and they didn't have a lot of the bugs worked out. But I have to say that part of the reason why I think that Power Rangers did so well right out of the gate as far as quality goes is the fact that they really have the Marvel stuff figured out. I can remember when our Marvel Legends relaunched with that Thor figure from Hasbro, and a lot of the people who'd been fan of the Toy Biz stuff for a long time were really upset. They lost articulation like in the toe, and there are a couple of spots where things weren't as articulated as much as they used to be. But I think that over time, people have warmed up more to the Hasbro stuff than the old Toy Biz line. If you compare just the one figure next to each other, I would certainly say that the current Hasbro stuff looks better. So my point being, they've really spent some time at that scale and worked out a lot of the details, probably of who they freelance out for what job and how things go together in the entire process. So they would probably just apply that to G.I. Joe. And if we get a 6-inch GI Joe, it's going to be good right out of the gate.
I know I'm quite excited to see what that kind of looks like. I mean, I know I'm talking about like it's an absolute, but I mean, it just seems so locked in, and I'm going to look like such an idiot when they reveal the product line at Toy Fair or whatever, and it is a 2-inch line, and it's all mask figures, which would be
Right.
awesome. I'm just kidding.
The smallest line. That's it.
Yeah, there's like yeah, exactly. Just the world's smallest. That's all they bring out. In fact, we haven't heard much from that. They're supposed to be coming out soon, aren't they, Pat?
Yeah, that's. I actually was curious, so I sent their customer service line an email, and they got back to me really quickly, and they told me to expect them late November or early December. So I don't know where they are, but then probably a week ago, maybe,
Yeah,
things got extra confusing because whenever they showed the GI Joe stuff, they also showed a world's smallest Transformers,
yeah.
and those figures were actually reused from I think it was some kind of park somewhere, maybe in South America. Maybe
Wow.
was it that those had been released already?
Peru, did you say?
I think it was definitely somewhere that they had already been released. And from what I understand, in addition to the keychains for Transformers that are showing up at Dollar Tree, now those figures are showing up at Dollar Tree. So I don't know if World's Smallest was just using those as a placeholder for their own product,
Hmm.
or if they were planning on releasing those and now they're not going to be able to because somebody else did. And if Transformers at World's Smallest are in question, is G.I. Joe? I don't know. Like I'm going a very roundabout method of thinking, but they recently told me to expect them by now, so I don't really know what to think.
I wonder if Hasbro maybe have got them on hold a little bit until more information comes out on what they're planning to do with the actual brand itself. Because a lot of these things, even if they say, yeah, we've got them, we plan to bring them out, whatever. I feel like Hasbro changed their mind, even as or the licenses run out before Hasbro allow it to happen or something. Like I don't know
Yeah,
what the ins and outs of that is, but I don't know. There seems to have been a lot of product that would have been Joe branded that just hasn't seen the light of day. Like the What Not toys, for example. I mean, just disappeared off the face of the earth effectively. That
yeah,
they were all ready to go. They even changed the eye designs, didn't they? And released things saying, "Hey, look, they're coming out. Don't worry, they're coming out," and still nothing. So I wonder
yeah.
if it's got anything to do with the fact that you got the movie coming. We've already got that inkling that there's work on a evergreen line. So I wonder if all of that's on hold effectively because Hasbro want to just not dominate, but they want to use it. They want to use the brand and deliver everything themselves.
It could be. I mean, these things are kind of more trinket and novelty than they are the actual toy line.
Yeah, yeah,
If that is the case, which I can see it being because we haven't seen a lot of movement at all on the brand.
no,
So yeah, can see them just having a policy that is just kind of a blanket policy that is affecting it rather than, sensibilities just saying, hey, this probably isn't going to compete with what we are putting out, so
mm,
just go ahead and let it happen. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, we had some speculation a few months back about micro machines too, and I mean that was largely speculation. I think that we could see GI Joe as well, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. Because obviously that was another story, wasn't it? The micro machines. Well, man, I'm so excited to see what they've done with that. But again, well, I'm not sure if we're hearing stuff at like such an early such an early time in the process of development that we're then in that Kickstarter phase. We're kind of when you are exposed to the really earliest point of a toy in production in a Kickstarter, and then you're waiting like 2 years for it to actually come to fruition. And I know Hasbro generally work a bit faster than that, and they can probably speed that up if they want to, just by throwing money at it. But I get the feeling that a lot of these things are on hold. They're almost like waiting for something to be revealed before other things start happening. And I would not be surprised. Now, again, I'm going to look like an idiot if this doesn't come through. I would not be surprised if no, I think micro machines will probably come here eventually, but I would not be surprised if the What Not toys and the world's smallest never see the light of day.
It's possible. I mean, it would just be, it's just so strange to me, that I was told, hey, just wait basically told just wait another month and you should see them. because if they were told not to do them, it's not like they can fit a production schedule
Yeah.
and get them shipped in that amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's just very, very strange to me.
Yeah.
But you could be right. I mean, it's equally as strange that we haven't seen anything more from them. And if they did order them and they have manufactured them, why have they not added them to their website? Because I checked there, and still the only thing G.I. Joe on the whole website is, that old Adventure Team figure.
Yeah, totally. It's weird, and I'm not blaming this on the film or anything, but I do think Hasbro are tentative at the moment in letting the G.I. Joe brand out there. I mean, not even a year ago, probably let's say a year ago, they were throwing quite a lot of branded merchandise out, weren't they? For G.I. Joe, we had like shades and sneakers and jackets and pretty much everything that wasn't an action figure. And that, it seemed to me like they maybe changed their policy a little bit, as rather than let's keep throwing these things out, branded G.I. Joe, let's put stuff on hold, go dark a little bit so, we don't keep kind of oversaturating the market with the name, and come out fresh with the Snake Eyes movie or come out fresh with a new thing. That's what it screams to me at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have brand confusion, so you don't want to still have some things on the shelf that correlate with the new thing that you're trying to do. So it makes sense to me to try to clear out any of those licenses. I'm sure some of those things that we saw coming out, maybe the reason why they were getting the green light is because they knew that they weren't going to be doing anything else with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So why not some money off of a little bit of licensing in a market, where there's a void?
Yeah,
they knew that sneakers and things like that would sell to the collectors. So somebody wants to sell that, go ahead. But now that we are ramping up closer to a movie year, I mean, those licensing agreements may be even more expensive when you have a big marketing push to back it.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what those look like. So there's just a lot of stuff I'm sure going on behind the scenes, but hopefully we'll see something soon.
Yeah, totally. And I think I do expect to see something in February at Toy Fair, whether it's just like a reveal of something, not necessarily final product, but I do expect to see something shown or explained or presented at Toy Fair in February. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll actually be there. I'm still working out the kinks, as it were. Fingers crossed, Full Force will have a presence there and be able to get you some news maybe on the day, as opposed to, I don't know, 10 or 11 hours later. That's how fast we operate on the Full Force News Burst. Pat, dude, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with me, mate.
Yeah, it's a great time as always. I'm excited to have seen that there was some G.I. Joe news today.
I know, it's like, if it's the movie, I freak out. If it's toys related, I'm like, oh, cool. So, it feels like we're getting closer to some kind of reveal, doesn't it?
It does. And I think you are right about February, but you never know with these little things trickling out here and there. Maybe we'll get a few more pieces of the puzzle before then.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, Pat, thanks for jumping on, buddy. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my awesome co-host, Patrick Stewart. See you next time, and as always, full merchandising force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.